I know I'm not the only one who has waited for Clorinde since the very first teaser trailer for Fontaine, and finally, almost at the very end of the version, we are going to get to play as her. I'm going to talk about what we can and can't know, how good she's going to be, what her teams are going to be, what her builds are going to be. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. Now, first off, her animations are insane. She has some of the coolest attack animations in the game. She has one of my favorite designs in the game. The dual wielding sword and pistol look incredible. The way she slashes back and forth between them are amazing. The burst, one of the best burst animations in the game. She looks super fun to play, very engaging. I think the only thing that people are concerned about is those that got access to the beta have reported that the numbers, they look lower at a glance, and the preliminary calculations that people have done look lower at a glance than other teams. However, for people who've actually done full team calcs, the numbers look pretty good, and I think combined with the quality of life will actually make her a really good character. Maybe not a top meta, and almost definitely not a top meta like Arlecchino or Novelette, but she should be one of the better DPS characters overall, so let's talk about why. The easiest way to start thinking about her is to think about her like Ayato. She has a skill that converts her attacks into this sort of spammy normal attacks playstyle. You're going to be leveling up her skill, but she's going to be doing normal attack damage. You're not going to be leveling her normal attacks, just like Ayato. The difference is she looks a bit more engaging. So rather than just spamming the skill, you're going to be spamming it, and then you're also going to be doing this little dash that basically your normal attacks, when you're in your infused state, create this bond of life, and then she consumes this bond of life by doing this sort of dash attack by using her skill again. And it looks really, really cool. It looks very fun and very engaging, and I think that that's going to give her a really cool play style. It looks to me like her AoE isn't massive though. Like, it looks all right, but nothing like Novelette. Like, you can see she's attacking the one guy, but the other guy's kind of right beside him and not being hit. So unless if you're going to use her in AoE, you're definitely going to need a grouper. Or you can position. It looks like she has a fairly long horizontal gunshots, but not very long, but not very wide. So that's something that to keep in mind. And her burst animation obviously looks incredible, and that gives her a lot of AoE. That AoE is actually massive. If you can see how far it hits the hilly trails on the left, but also it's very clearly doing damage all the way to the right of the screen. This is almost a full screen burst. So she definitely is going to have, like, not the worst AoE, especially when you combine that with, you know, the grouping of Kazuha or something like that. Like I said, the people who've done calculations, her numbers look pretty small at first, but because she hits so many times, that gives her good synergy with certain reactions. That gives her good synergy with Aggravate, and it gives her good synergy with Fischl. It's looking like what they're going for is sort of an upgraded Keqing. Right now, Keqing's best team is on Aggravate because she's very good at electro application, and so she can drive Fischl very well. Right now, you can either use Keqing or you can use Yai for your Aggravate driving. You can use Sino, but he's more suited to the Quick Bloom type of playstyle because of his innate EM scaling and his preferred playstyle of not switching out too much, which one of the best things about Aggravate is being able to switch into Kazuha and do lots of grouping. And Yoimiya and Keqing both fit this playstyle very well, whereas Sino doesn't. Clorinde looks to be sort of a mix of the two. She looks like she will be an upgraded Keqing and Yoimiya for Aggravate teams, because she does a lot more personal damage, while also being an upgraded Quick Bloom driver. And this is because as part of her passive, she heals herself. So obviously we've got that bond of life, but she's going to be a self-sustained unit, which is really, really cool. She heals herself quite a bit, which means that she can either be the self-sustain for an Aggravate team like this, and this is really hard to play. This is something I played back in the day with Keqing, just like a healerless team, or maybe you put Prototype Amber on Nahida. But as the Abyss has gotten more aggressive, you feel like you have much more of a need for a healer, and Clorinde is her own healer. And if she doesn't heal the rest of her team, so you do have to be careful on the rest of her team, making sure they don't take too much damage. But Clorinde herself, the one you're going to be spending most of the time, is going to be healing herself, so you won't need to run a healer. So then Nahida is going to do a lot more damage. You're getting Nahida's buff for Clorinde, which is big. And you could even do something like run Thrilling Tales on Nahida for even more damage. or run Thrilling Tales Sucrose and then do, you know, Widsith Nahida or whatever damaging weapon you have. So this is more than likely going to be her best overall team. The numbers are looking pretty impressive. Not, again, not Novelette or Arlecchino levels, but still very, very good. And then the second team we have is the Quick Bloom team, and this is basically Sino Quick Bloom, but you don't need a healer. So, and that's actually massive. Being able to run a damaging unit like Fischl instead of a dedicated healer like Baiju or Kuki is honestly going to be huge for damage, and I think this is absolutely going to be an upgrade over the Sino Quick Bloom. It's unclear whether this will still be better than the Alhaitham variant. I think that, because obviously Alhaitham is going to be running Kuki in this slot, and so you, even though you're getting less personal damage with Clorinde compared to someone like Alhaitham or Sino, you are able to run an off-field damage dealer like Fischl. So this is looking like her two better teams, like probably the two best teams, with Chevreuse teams being another option. The one thing about Chevreuse teams is that you don't have, about all teams actually, is that you don't have a way to apply any sort of electro off field. So you need to run a second electro for aggravate teams like this one. You can do other things, but like maybe Yoon Jin or something instead of Fischl, but it's going to make it hard to swirl. So it's hard to say how good that's going to be. But I do expect Chevreuse to be pretty good, maybe just not quite as good as Raiden, because the personal damage, like Chevreuse benefits like the personal damage from Raiden on this team more than it does the sort of reaction heavy, driver heavy teams that Clorinde will make, but I still think it'll be a really good team, especially if Chevreuse happens to be on the banner. I expect people to complain that all of Clorinde's best teams use Fischl, but that's just how it is. Lots of characters have one character that they really lean on for their best teams, and it's not like all the teams will have to use Fischl. You can definitely use Kujosara if you have High Constellation on the aggravate team. And we'll see how good it's going to be. I'm obviously very, very excited for Clorinde. I'm going to test her with all the best teams, all and the worst teams. I'm going to test everything. I'm also going to test her weapons and different builds. I'm going to test everything because I'm so excited for Clorinde. I'm going to give you the best guide on YouTube because of how much I'm going to test her. It's going to be crazy. And I'm really, really excited. So make sure you subscribe. I'll be releasing my Clorinde guide on minute 1 when she comes out. So make sure you're subscribed with the notifications on for that. Those are what I expect the best teams can be, and obviously I'm going to test all the little intricacies and replacing different units with other units to see how they go, but that's what I expect to be good. Now for her builds, we know her weapon, it hasn't been officially revealed yet, but most people are saying it's going to be like a better Mist Splitter, but only with Clorinde because it requires the Bond of Life. So obviously Mist Splitter will be a very good secondary option if you don't want to get her weapon, because she's a normal attack character. Ayato's weapon Haran will be really good, but Clorinde gives you so much crit rate as part of her Ascension passive, as part of her just her innate scalings. She gives so much crit rate that it's going to be hard to use Haran or Jade Cutter and not overcap. She basically, because I guess the lore, she used to be a Marishisei Hunter, so she has the Marishisei Hunter, or not, she's used to be. Her ancestors are, so she has the Marishisei Hunter artifact set built into her. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, her own weapon, Mist Splitter, are going to be really good. Other 5-star crit damage statistics like Chiori or Farina's weapon are going to be pretty good. Black Sword is going to be an amazing weapon if you have it from the Battle Pass. That's going to be her best 4-star option, especially if you have Refines. And otherwise, Lion's Roar and Finale of the Deep, which is the Fontaine Craftable weapon, are going to be the best 4-star options. If you don't happen to have those, if you don't want to craft them, then you can go with Iron Sting or the Umbrella. So she has lots of good weapon choices. I will say from the numbers that I've seen, her signature or just any 5-star weapon in general is a pretty big personal damage increase over the free-to-play ones. But I think that a lot of people will have some sort of 5-star sword, whether it be the Mist Splitter or the Haran. The Jade Cutter is really going to be very hard to use, but I think that most people will have a good option. And then if you do have High Refined Black Sword, then that's basically a 5-star for her. So that's really cool. For artifacts, it's going to be either the Fragment of Harmonic Whimsy, which is the Bond of Life set, or Thundering Fury, because Thundering Fury will fix her short rotation length, because right now she only stays on field for 7.5 seconds, so some people are worried about that. But with Thundering Fury, you can do two things. One, you can switch off and regroup and reapply a VV with Kazuha, for example, and you can just extend your rotations so that she can do a longer rotation and have more damage and have better uptime with Fischl, reapply Nahida to a new wave, stuff like that. It will probably be, it's hard to say whether honestly which one will be at the peak. I have a pretty good set of Harmonic Whimsy and a very good set of Thundering Fury, so I'll definitely be testing both of them and letting you know which one is like my overall best recommendation. But for now, just use whichever set is better, and you know, wait for our day one testing to see which one ends up being better on release when we actually play her, because having how she actually feels obviously matters than what theoretical potential damage we could get. If you don't have either of those, in the meantime, you can use Gladiator or Shimenawa, or you can use the Echoes of the Offering set. Just make sure you have like under like 40 ping or less, I think, to be safe. And that's what you can do if you just want to, if you don't want to farm a new set. But if you're going to main her, you want to either farm Fury or Harmonic Whimsy. If you already know you're going to get her and not waiting till she's released to see how good she is, I would consider the Philosophies of Justice. She seems like a just character. This is totally not anything other than me just predicting, right? I'm just predicting. This is at least what I'm going to be farming, right? Philosophies of Justice. Very good idea. As per usual, all Fontaine characters want us to slaughter baby seals, so you're going to want to go for the xenochromatic crystals. Again, just a prediction. And weirdly enough, I'm feeling like we're going to go back to a pep for whatever reason. I don't know why I have this feeling. It's totally based on just me predicting. Yes, she's an electro character, so surely if we were going to go back to Sumeru, we'd use this guy. But no, she's an aggravate character, so she's going to use a pep. Yeah, you're going to use her with Nahida, so a pep. Yeah, that makes sense. For boss drops, the Unicorn's the only one that makes sense. Electro Horsey. Looks like Clorinde should ride the Electro Horsey. That'd be sick. How cool would that be if you could just ride that horse around? And then she's kind of buddy-buddy with Novelette, so I think we're going to go with the Starfish specialty as well. So that's what you want to do if you're pre-farming for Clorinde. All of this is obviously subject to change, but I think it should be pretty safe. So, am I worried? What are my most burning questions? I was a little bit worried looking at how she got nerfed in the beta, how she lost some uptime. I was worried that she would just be a downgrade to Raiden. And by the same stance, I was worried that she was going to be too much of an upgrade to Raiden. But it looks to me like she's going to do better in some teams. Like Raiden's best DPS team is Chevreuse, in my opinion. She also has a good driver team with Farina, Yelan. And neither of those teams will be Clorinde's best team. So they will actually occupy different spaces, because Raiden best team is not aggravate. Raiden's better. She has a high personal scaling and likes to be personally buffed as like a hyper carry if you're running like or she likes to drive off-field characters and use her energy regen ability as like support. And she's a very good driver because she has infinite interruption resistance, so she's very comfy. So overall, these are Raiden's strengths, and Clorinde, they basically made her completely different. So it looks like, even though I was personally very worried about Clorinde just like power creeping Raiden or being afraid to power creep Raiden and making her worse, it seems like she's going to provide a completely different playstyle and completely different options to Raiden, which is a really cool way to go about it. It does mean, however, that she's going to mostly power creep Yoimiya, Keqing, and Sino. I'm very curious to see if she really does power creep Sino. I mean, Sino, she's just going to be able to free up better teammates. Like, sometimes characters are not good because of the characters themselves. They're good because of what teammates they allow you to run with good synergies with that character. And that's what's looking like for Clorinde. I think she seems pretty free-to-play friendly with a good craftable, a good battle pass, good 5-star non-signature options, and a good signature weapon. That's very nice, and multiple different artifact sets that are working on her. You only need to level 2 out of the 3 talents. Save your resources that way. She has multiple different teammates. Yeah, she's reliant on Fischl, it seems, but she has good AoE and good single target teams. Fun fact, by the way, she's the first 5-star female tall sword user since Jean in patch 1.0. So that is my favorite weapon type and my favorite model type. So yeah, for me personally, there's I'm very like emotionally charged on whether Clorinde will be good or not, because she is definitely my favorite designed character since Raiden. I haven't looked forward to a character this much since I started playing Genshin, to be honest, because when I started playing Genshin, Raiden was just on banner already and she was already passed, so I had to wait a super long time for her rerun. And since then, they haven't announced a new character that comes even close for me to be as hyped for as I am for Raiden. So I think all that remains is Will she be a character like Navia where her numbers look pretty good but not crazy? But when you actually play her, she feels so good to play that you don't even care, that like the numbers feel better than they are because of how good and easy it is to execute the good teams. Whereas certain other characters like Wanderer, although they're technically very good and technically they are part of the top DPS, like not the top DPS characters, but one of the better DPS characters, they don't feel as good to play for a lot of people. Or Sino, who's just maybe a tiny bit undertuned, but maybe not. But mostly it's just his teams and his restrictions and his gameplay that people aren't as big of a fan of. Same with Yoimiya. It looks like Clorinde will hit the mark and she will be really, really fun to play. And she will work really well with those teams, but that's like the main thing to wait and see, because there's numbers and whatever characters are on sheets, they feel like this good, right? However good that is. And then depending on how they feel to play, they may actually feel better than their numbers and make themselves feel better than they do on the sheets, or make themselves feel worse. Arlecchino is a recent character that looked really good on numbers, and then in practice she felt even better than that, at least to me. So here's hoping that Clorinde feels better than she looks, not because she looks bad, but because I want her to be great, and I'm really looking forward to this character. So again, make sure you subscribe because I'm going to have the best Clorinde guide on YouTube. I love all the other content creators. Speaking of other content creators, I do get a lot of my information from other creators, and I really want to shout out the Genshin Scientist for making amazing pre-release guides. I want to shout out Stern for doing the same thing, and of course Zajeff77. If you want to dig into more pre-release nitty-gritty numbers stuff, check out these 3 videos. They all have a great Clorinde pre-release guide that all talk about little different stuff that are really, really good. And then obviously round that out with my guide on day 1, where I break down the full play style and how she ends up being in practice. It's going to be awesome. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care. Bye for now.